tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akaman. Now, let the buzz begin!
I feel like watching Freaks and Geeks right now.
Hello and welcome to an all-new UFC on AfterBuzz TV. My name is Daria Berenato, and I'm here with my co-host, my boys, as always, Mr. George Hermoza.
Well, not as always. I mean, last week you guys were playing just the two of us. Made me cry when I was watching it back.
That was nice, wasn't it, Jay?
It really was.
No interruptions.
Yeah, nice
no
change.
Jokes.
I never interrupt you.
To be
when
honest,
do I ever interrupt you?
Well,
I've never interrupted you ever before.
We actually had more conversation between the two
George,
of us.
I really missed you.
I miss you too.
You put such a great, lightning, comedic mood to the show, and I really missed it.
Oh, I missed you too.
And
on top of that, we could talk about steroids and, and
George Hermoza,
positive tests,
Jay
right?
Tan. You can find me at DariaB28 on Twitter. You can also hashtag us at ABTVUFC if you guys want to talk to us. Also, you can comment on the YouTube link and let us know what you thought of the show. Any questions? George, where can we find you on Twitter?
You can find me at G Hermoza on Twitter and at Instagram. Wow. And at Snapchat too.
Oh, creepy.
G Hermoza. I'll send you 10-second videos of stuff.
You could send someone the Ronda Rousey fight. Oh, almost.
No, almost, yeah. I can put it on Instagram.
That would be Instagram.
You can put it on Instagram though.
You can. That's pretty crazy. Jay, where can we find you on Instagram?
I'm over at JTan716, the usual spots: Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Okay, before we get into the blood and gore inside the cage, we're going to talk about some crime outside of the cage.
Yeah.
What if your son was murdered, your daughter arrested, your child framed?
No.
Where does the truth lie? One crime will affect so many lives in the television event of the year. We're talking about ABC's groundbreaking new television series, American Crime, which premieres Thursday, March 5th, 10/9. Of course, on ABC. This series is created by John Ridley, the Oscar-winning screenwriter of 12 Years a Slave. It stars Felicity Huffman and Timothy Hutton and centers around issues such as race, class, and gender. Guys, be sure to check it out. American Crime on ABC starting Thursday, March 5th.
I can't wait. I know what I'm watching after SmackDown on Thursday.
I am so excited for this. We were talking about it last week. Felicity Hoffman. Does it get any better?
I'm sold on her.
I actually really like her.
Me too.
Yeah.
This is what we're saying.
This is what we're saying.
It's got all the right tools to a great show.
Yeah. Hey, real quickly too, Marissa, Mom in the production booth. I'm wondering, are we? Do we have comments, live comments feed going? Are we?
I will definitely check that out.
Thank you.
Yeah, just wondering. Yeah, if that's going, then guys, absolutely, spit out some comments, talk to us, and we'll kind of try to address them on there.
Absolutely. There's a lot to talk about. So UFC 184 went down in our town for once, Los Angeles, downtown at the Staples Center, a sold-out show. Starring, of course, Ronda Rousey versus Cat Zingano, with a co-main event of Raquel Pennington versus Holly Holm. This is the first time in UFC history that we have two women as the main event and the co-main event.
And on top of this, too, man, retrospect, hindsight is 2020, because the night before, Invicta FC, also in LA, a full women's card,
right?
Cyborg on top and a bunch of rising stars and stuff. We should have opened up with ladies first. Queen Latifah, take it back to the old school. That would have been
We opened up with Bad Reputation, which is a little more appropriate because Ronda Rousey put quite the performance on.
Absolutely one of the most fitting walkout songs, and because of it, and this is, for me, myself, it's rare that a fighter, you hear a walkout song and you get into the song that much more. Because it's been around for decades. And I've heard it's a good song, it's fine, but now that it's so strongly Ronda associated, when I hear that, I don't know if we had the cameras on us, but I was like this close to just punching George right here. Just figuring it
got you in fight mode?
Yeah. It's a good fight song.
It is a good fight song, and it resonates her name with the song. So when you hear the song, you get these good vibes. You get that, anticipation. You're excited to see her fight again.
You get aggro.
Yeah.
No, but
I like it.
Even so, like with her, if she was a good girl, it wouldn't fit. She has to get you in the mood and get you in the fight zone, but just because of everything she goes through, everything, all the talk, all the smack that she gets, it just she's like, I don't care, dude. Like, this is who I am. You don't walk through my shoes. This is who I am. I don't care what you think about me. And
yeah, my Ronda Rousey perspective is nothing but respect. I mean, I think everything she does is intelligent, thought out. You watch her in interviews.
And intense. That's the thing.
Intense. She just brings this level of intensity. And that's probably the word that best describes Ronda Rousey. She's intense. She's serious. She's determined. Yeah. Hey, I love her. But let's start at the top of the undercard, because we had Mark Munoz making his comeback. He was on a 3-fight losing streak prior to this fight, now 4, versus Juan Carneiro.
Yeah.
Who's back in the UFC since 2008.
Yeah, I was gonna say both guys coming back after a pretty long hiatus.
Right. Ron Carneiro won via rear naked choke in round 1, 1:40 in. Oh my God! So it was like a guillotine takedown by Juan, and he finished the rear naked choke shortly after.
Was that the fight? I think I got it mixed up. Was that the fight where it should have been finished around 3 seconds earlier? Because it looked like Mark Munoz was passed out for a little bit. Yeah,
they said he was out cold, and you heard Joe Rogan and John Anik talking about it. They were like, "He's out, he's out, he's
out." He went
to
sleep for a little while, and Jared Villel eventually stopped him.
You're right.
That was a little bit of an unfortunate return for Mark. A fortunate one, of course, for Juan Carneiro. We'll talk as well. Josh Koscheck didn't have a great showing either. There was 2 guys that have been around for a long time, and I think we may have seen the peak of their career. This may be towards the end of their career, at least possibly for the UFC. Maybe they'll go elsewhere. But
what do you think, George? Do you think that Mark Munoz has something left in him? Do you think no?
I think it's done for him. I mean, he had so much promise. Not that the sport passed him by, but I think he's done. I think the level of competition and the damage that he's getting. I mean, like, again, he got choked out, and it's the one thing to get choked out and then get passed out, but it's another thing to have the hold on a little bit more, because now you're just cutting the oxygen off your brain. So who knows?
I don't think that took away from him per se. I don't think that caused permanent damage at this point. And I think,
but you don't want to wait for that to happen. And I'll talk about it a little bit more with the Koscheck, but
I think though that he can compete still outside of the UFC if he wants to. I know that.
He could obviously.
This is somebody that has been outside of the UFC for a long time, Juan Carneiro, and was able to finish him pretty quickly. But again, Mark Munoz coming off of, I think, a year-long hiatus from fighting.
Right.
So it's understandable to have a bit of cage rust.
A lot of the time, and I'm going to talk about this when we get to the next fight, Tony Ferguson versus Gleison Tibau, but I think a lot of the time when these fighters that have been around for a long time, kind of journeymen in the UFC or outside of the UFC, it's not so much that they've lost their touch, it's that the sport is growing and they haven't grown with it. I mean, MMA.
They've also gotten older. I don't know that they haven't. You can't say that Mark Munoz hasn't been training.
No, I'm not referring it to in this instance. More so some of the other fights on the card, and just that we've seen in recent history when guys make these comebacks. We haven't seen them in 4 or 5 years, or 2, 3 years even. You have these new martial artists like Tony Ferguson, for example. They just have this next level MMA. They're not training, these separate, they're not training just wrestling or just this. They have everything incorporated so well now that it's just they're training MMA. Like Ronda Rousey's judo with her boxing. It's now come to such a different extent. Like the first Ronda Rousey, it was like, okay, she's going to work her way in with her punches, get the judo toss, and finish her opponent. Now I see Ronda Rousey as a well-rounded, boxer, kickboxer, whatever you want to call her, mostly boxer, with her judo. And I think that they're both so equally dominant that she could really pick and choose her fight.
Everybody starts from one discipline or another. We're getting into the point where people can jump into MMA as a discipline unto itself.
Right.
But for the most part, these people that are, the Mark Munozes and everybody older than him that has come along started from one point or another and then supplemented with other training, like Ronda did. But in this case,
well, no, because there's guys that have been in the UFC for a good amount of time, but they're still changing their training methods, and they're being with the up and coming, being with the the new hot thing.
I think
whereas the older guys,
age speaks more to that discrepancy, that age and road wear in terms of the fights that you've had and who you fought against, as opposed to the sport evolving that much more. I agree with what you're saying,
right?
But I think that arc is a bit longer. Whereas with guys, when we see something, guys like I don't want to say in the twilight, but guys that have probably peaked a little bit past Koscheck right now, or Chris Lieben.
I think it's a combination of everything.
Or Munoz. Their arc is a bit more with age and the road wear of the fights that they've had, more so than the sport passing them by. Because those guys stay in the gym. This is what they've been doing.
I'm not saying they're not
6
staying in
years.
the gym, but they're training with the same people they've been training with for 20 plus years, 15 plus years. It could
I don't know about
potentially.
that.
Well, that's why we're allowed to have opinions.
It's not personal, sweetheart. Come on, we just had a fun time That's okay. That sounded bad. I didn't mean it, guys. You get it wrong. It was. I think attending the event, but at any rate,
I think with somebody like Mark Munoz, I just think he's not going to be at that level. I mean, they're just guys that are just better than him. He's always going to be a top guy. Now, if you say top,
being top UFC.
If you say top, I mean top 10, top 20. Maybe not top 10, maybe not top 20. So he'll have a job if he wants it. I just don't think that he's there. Like I think if he wants to, and I was I was watching the post, not the post conference, but the post show. They were talking to Cormier and especially Kenny Florian, and they were saying, well, you got to fight for the right reasons. If you want to fight for money, that's one thing. But if you want to fight to be the best, that's another thing. But you just got to make sure you fight for the right reasons. And with some of the guys, Munoz, Koscheck, they just got to make sure they fight for the right reasons. And if it is, great. If it's not, then the sport, maybe you got to retire.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a job for guys like this. I mean, like Mark Munoz, he could still be like a journeyman. He could still be one of the bottom level guys that they, when they need a fighter, they call him and he's ready and he fights. He doesn't need to be going for a title shot, but like you said, his priorities need to be straight if that's what he wants. If he's a guy that's still searching for that title shot, then maybe, maybe he should look elsewhere.
I agree. Let's
move on to the next fight. Tony Ferguson versus Gleison Tibau. Gleison Tibau was on kind of a run. He had a couple wins in a row. He was looking really good. Then they threw him against Tony Ferguson, and Tony got the rear naked choke submission in round 1, 237 into it.
Here's another guy that's been around for a very long time.
Yes.
And has done his time with the UFC and is reliable to bring you a good fight, but probably not going to be in the top 15 anytime soon. Or what was he ranked? No, not ranked.
But he'll fight, he'll win, as opposed to Munoz, who just keeps losing. It's one thing to keep losing, but like Gleison Tibau, who has been around for a while. I mean, he won his last,
he's been fighting
3 or 4
consistently.
fights?
Munoz has taken the year off. I think we're a bit quick to write off Mark so radically. I think that there's ring rust is a factor, age is a factor, and he can be competitive outside the UFC.
I mean, with that said, still a very impressive win from El Kukui.
Absolutely. Tony Ferguson looked
definitely
awesome.
Somebody who wants, he's begging for guys that are in the top 10. He's like, in the interview, he's like, dude, I just want to start picking off people that are in the top 10. I want to get my
from the
opportunity.
ground up, from the 10 up to 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
So
Nothing wrong with that.
that's a storyline.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with the fight he had. I mean, Gleison Tibau is a veteran, so for a guy like Tony Ferguson to fight Gleison Tibau, it's definitely not a step down.
On his cap, to be sure.
Absolutely. Definitely a good win under his belt. Next we had Alan Juban. We gave him the AfterBuzz and he went and won it versus Filthy Rich Walsh. It was a KO in round 1, 2 minutes and 19 seconds in. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful elbow to the temple knockout.
Those elbows have always been nasty. I remember seeing him in Muay Thai smoker fights and in the amateur circuit, and he's always loved using
his elbows.
Those 8 points. The knees, the elbows, punches, and the kicks.
He is definitely a well-rounded guy. 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, Saxon's Muay Thai, very high caliber. He started off kind of circling the outside. He said it in the post-fight interview that he was trying to feel out his rhythm and get his rhythm. He finally got it when he got that elbow, but it takes him a minute or two. He's kind of a slow starter in that sense.
We kind of saw that with the Worley Alves fight, his previous event, where he had to take. He took quite a pounding and was close to getting finished. It looked like really from the outside in the previous match, but then was able to survive and get his rhythm going.
He also gave quite the pounding.
Yeah, he absolutely did.
He's a very tough fighter.
Round 2, round 3, he did very well. He reminds me a little bit in that regard to Forrest Griffin, who always needed to take a few to the face to really kind of wake up.
Right.
That's his coffee for the early part of the fight. I don't advise that. I think you should probably try and get on right away. But
we'll talk about that when we get to the main event.
Who am I to discuss comparing Alan's preparation process?
Good stuff from Juban. I mean, that guy he impressed me the first time. Unfortunately, the last fight didn't go his way, which everybody disagreed with. Yeah. Everybody had Alan Juban winning after that fight, so a lot of people think that he won that fight anyways. But now he's like, you know what? I'm not gonna let it go to the judges. I'm gonna finish this fight, and you got to give props to that.
I think he's a company favorite, and I think he's a fan favorite. Alan Juban's one of those new guys that everybody knows his name already, and especially in the MMA world. You know, pretty looks, great talent, really entertaining.
They said that about me too,
He's a total
though.
package.
They said it about me too.
Yeah.
Except for the part about the looks.
I hear laughter in the background, or whatever,
or the work ethic.
I'll just ignore that.
Yeah, just ignore that.
Or the it factor.
Next, we have another comeback fight. Jake Ellenberger versus Josh Koscheck. Josh Koscheck coming back after quite some time off. Jake Ellenberger got the submission via north-south choke in round 2, 4 minutes and 20 seconds in. This was kind of an interesting fight. It's not it didn't go exactly how I thought it was going to go. I know Jake Ellenberger has been working with Edmund Daria, Ronda Rousey's striking coach. So I was definitely looking for his boxing, but it was kind of like a clinch wrestling game most of the fight, with Ellenberger coming out on top with that Dars.
This is one of those rare exceptions to the matches. On paper, you'll hear Josh Koscheck, collegiate wrestler, Jake Ellenberger, collegiate wrestler, and the standard. A lot of times, the rule of thumb is that two guys with great ground game are going to
stand and brawl.
Stand up. Yeah, the ground stuff kind of negates each other. Wasn't the case. Koscheck was going for takedowns a lot. Ellenberger was pressuring him from the center of the cage and was having a lot of success with a straight right to Koscheck's eye. There was something wrong. I think something went wrong early in the fight with Koscheck's eye. Just my guess, because he kept wiping at it, and Ellenberger was landing that right so easily on Kos. He feigned like it wasn't hurting him, and hopefully that's the case. But I don't know. I mean, it certainly was adding up points, I think, in terms of strikes landed. And in Kos with his defense, he would kind of reach for the takedown, clinch him up against the cage, and was kind of hanging there for a little bit. And then the last time he went in, Ellenberger caught the neck and got him in that. What looked to me, I'm not a jiu-jitsu guy, at least not training, but it looked like it was a Darce choke grip, and as it went to the ground, ended up in a north-south position. Yeah,
I mean, it was a standing Darce. That's what I have written down here, and then they kind of just took it to the ground, and it ended up there facing north-south. So it's still the same hold, but just from a north-south position.
Yeah.
The next one.
Hold on, before I think, and what you were saying, I think his eye was bothering him a lot, but I think it just goes back to that George St. Pierre fight from 4 years ago, where George St. Pierre destroyed his eye. Right. Like you saw his face out post fight. Look it up, Josh Koscheck post fight picture or whatever after that GSP fight. Yeah. It was, and I don't care what anybody says. I just never think he fully recovered. Because even like a slight punch.
Do you think his eye fully recovered and his mind didn't? Like
both.
Or do you think both?
I think both. Like it's always going to be in the back of his mind, because like as was mentioned as we were watching before the show, that he just seemed different. Like the Koscheck pre-GSP, he beat Anthony Johnson, for goodness sakes.
Right.
You know, I mean, so
170 that is, guys.
Yeah, that's true. I don't even. Did Rimmel make weight even?
It's a good question. I don't know.
But yeah, I just think he's never been the same since then. I think he's on his fourth fight losing streak now.
Yeah, fourth loss in a row.
Yeah. And this is what I'm saying. We have seen. This is a generation of guys that came. Let's see, Koscheck, like 2005, he entered the UFC through Ultimate Fighter 1.
Yeah.
Munoz came in a few years later than that, but they've had a lot of matches at the highest level of the sport, the UFC, and
that's the thing.
It's road wear. You know, the matches that you have, the opponents that you face, and the kind of matches that you have with those guys will take a toll on you.
I'm actually surprised that Koscheck fought. Like I thought as of like a few months ago, I thought he was retired already. I thought he was done.
Yeah.
So when I saw he's fighting Ellenberger, I'm like, oh, there's no way Koscheck has a chance.
No. I mean, Josh Koscheck, what do? He's obviously a name. Everyone knows him from the Ultimate Fighter 1. Does Dana White let him go now after his fourth loss in a row, or do you kind of just let him linger and give him some, lesser fights, or what do you do with him?
He'll, I think that come to Jesus speech or conversation is coming up soon for him.
Right.
Possibly the case with Munoz as well. Maybe with Gleason Tibau. I don't know. I mean, he's been more successful of late. I think his track record isn't the same skid as these two guys.
No, you don't do that talk with Gleason Tibau yet, because this is his first loss in a while, and it was against a high ranked opponent, an up and comer that's really hot on the market right now.
Up and comer. He's not ranked yet. But yeah. Tony's got a hot streak on him.
But he's got a hot streak going. You give it to him when he has at least 3 losses in a row, not one. Yeah. But you definitely give that talk to Josh Koscheck and Mark Munoz, I think.
Now you can talk about the next fight.
Now we can talk about the next fight. So this is one that had so much hype behind it, because you have Raquel Pennington versus Holly Holm. Holly Holm, obviously, boxing world champ in 3 weight classes. She's also has a kickboxing pedigree as well. This is her UFC debut, but not her MMA debut. I think she was 7-0 in MMA prior to this fight. A good winning MMA undefeated record. Raquel Pennington is a girl that came off The Ultimate Fighter, the Ronda Rousey, Miesha Tate season. She had a great run on there, did very well, and did continue to do well after. She's a tough opponent. She has good wrestling, well-rounded, really. Yeah. So this was said to be a really good fight, and we all wanted to see Holly Holm, the boxer, and see how that would play out against Raquel Pennington, kind of a wrestler. It ended up going to split decision, giving the win to Holly Holm.
Yeah, 29-28, 29-28, 28-29.
Yeah,
the other direction.
30-27.
Was it 30-27? Okay.
Yeah, the last one was a 30-27, which shocked the hell out of me, because I definitely have one of those rounds for Raquel Pennington.
So you had 2-1 Holly Holm?
No, I actually had Raquel Pennington.
Really? What about you?
Same. Raquel Pennington. I gave Holly the first round, Raquel the second and third. I believe the second was the closer one in terms of competitiveness between the two of them. Wouldn't surprise me. Obviously, the second one did go the other way.
Well, this is a beautiful thing about this, because I had Holly Holm winning 2-1.
Really?
Yeah.
You gave her the first and second?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I was impressed by her. She was good. I mean, I did like a lot of her poignancy. Like, I thought she looked like she belonged. A lot of her stances kind of reminded me a lot of like the dominant strikers of our history. Anderson Silva, Lyoto Machida. I just think, and she said it, she's like, I feel bad that everybody was, because it wasn't her hyping herself up, it was everybody else hyping her up, you know? So it kind of sucks at that point, but at the same time, I mean, she just did okay.
When you come in with the background that she has, especially in boxing, you're going to have a target on your back. Yeah. And
it's like when you go to a movie and everyone tells you the movie's going to be amazing, and then you get into the theater, you're like, oh my god, this movie's going to be so good. Oh, it was okay.
Like it might change your opinion of it, like
it does.
Even though it might still be good.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It puts a stigma in your head. If let's say Holly Holm was a no name, and we're like, oh, who's this girl in the co-main event? Oh my god, who is she? And oh wow, why haven't we heard about her? We might have had a different opinion.
What a lot of people were saying about that co-main. I hate to tell you, a lot of casual fans are like, who and who?
Huh? Right. Yeah. Well, casual fans, but I think most people really heard of Holly Holm. They've been hyping her up. If you watch Fox Sports, you definitely heard her name. But anyway, so Holly Holm came out with like a really traditional boxing stance. She was moving around like a boxer, which I think may have hurt her in the later rounds. In the third round, she was really getting touched up by Raquel Pennington. I was waiting for one of those punches to drop her.
Did Raquel drop her in the second or the third?
It was the third.
Yeah.
She didn't drop her per se. I think she rocked her a couple times bad. But
well, she dropped her. I mean, she landed on her butt, right?
Did she?
Yeah.
It wouldn't
she got rocked up, but yeah.
Like cobwebs per se, but dropped her. Yeah.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
I think that was the third round.
Yeah, and that's when the crowd was really going, starting to pick up steam for them. And to their credit, I remember the last minute or so, the crowd really got into it. Those girls did, I thought, deliver in the last. That was probably the most competitive part of the match, I thought.
The end was definitely good. You know what's so crazy? This is Holly Holm's UFC debut, and she's already ranked number 14.
Well, you come in with a certain pedigree,
right,
and a rep. You've proven yourself in another discipline. That counts for something.
Hey, why not?
Doesn't take you all the way to the top, but at least cracks you into the first top 15 or 14, as what Holly's done, clearly.
Yeah, I want to see Holly Holm against, like, I don't know who I want to see her against a good striker in this division. Maybe like a Miesha Tate in the coming months. Maybe not the next fight, but maybe the one after that. I want to see her against a game opponent. Not that Raquel Pennington isn't.
Now you got me curious.
Yeah, bring up the rankings.
We'll talk about it in a second, but at the same time, there are a lot of up and comers in that weight class. I'm excited about Juliana Pena.
The winner of the Ultimate Fighter that we have yet to see fight in the UFC because she got injured.
She's fighting in like a few weeks.
I'm so excited. I know.
Juliana Pena, who I'm excited for. I think she's going to be the next big thing.
I think so too.
Jessica Ai, who's like ranked number 6.
Yeah.
Maybe Betch.
Betch Kohei.
You know?
Yeah.
But I would probably put Holly Holm against Jessica Ai. It just makes the most sense right now as far as.
Well, let's talk about the next one.
Oh, that makes sense for Jessica.
Well,
maybe Marion Renault. Marion just came off a win, right?
Wait, hold on.
Marion's the older one.
Are we going on to the next fight?
Yeah.
I'm going to do something real quick. Okay.
We've got time.
We're just going to stay quiet. And then starting in about 3 seconds, we're going to be silent for as long as the fight was. Go. Yeah, screw it. But it was 14 but it was 14 seconds long.
We couldn't hold
Jesus
our breath
Christ, yeah.
past
we just want to talk about this so badly. Okay, so Ronda Rousey defeated Cat Zingano in 14 seconds. Okay,
I believe that's a new record for UFC championship fights.
Championship for probably the women.
Maybe the women
Certainly
altogether.
for the women, yeah. So yeah, for the women, but also
14 seconds.
Because there have been fewer matches, championship matches with the women, and also I believe the record for, if you want to talk about women's championship matches,
it was probably 16 seconds.
Was Ronda Rousey. She beat
which
her own
is 16
record.
seconds. Okay, anyway, so she won via unorthodox armbar, as J-Tan has written it down. It was very unorthodox.
I wish I could say my virginity lasted longer. Losing my virginity lasted longer, but it really can't. Womp womp.
Womp womp.
Yeah.
Well, Ronda Rousey, there you have it.
That just got us the explicit sticker for this episode, guys.
Yes, it did. Kids, do not tune in. But anyway, okay, so Cat Zingano goes out there, right? All this hype. You're fighting Ronda Rousey. You're going to be the one to beat her, or you're going to be the one to give her a run for her money. What do? What's the game plan? The game plan was a flying knee.
I mean, you said it. You were like, well, I don't know how she's going to do because she starts off slow. Well,
hey,
you know what?
She did exactly what I would have told her to do if I was her cornerman.
Unexpected. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition, except Ronda Rousey is so damn good that she did, because she said, I figured that she would probably do something that she would want me to not expect, and so I expected it.
Yes.
That's how good this girl is.
Yes. Okay, so she charges at Ronda Rousey with a flying knee, misses, kind of lands in Ronda's stomach area. Ronda catches the knee. Cat wraps her arm around Ronda's neck in like a guillotine hold, tosses her. Ronda immediately reverses the toss, gets on top of Cat Zingano.
That was a nice body movement on Ronda's part. Good
amazing.
awareness.
I give the credit to J-Flo. J-Flo is her judo guy that she's been working with, and it's been really working on, not her judo, because her judo is just mastered, but the flow techniques in her judo. If you listen to some of her interviews or watch some of her videos prior to this fight, she's doing this exact move in reverse. I heard it in the post-fight press conference. She was saying she never practiced doing that move and landing on her stomach. She always practiced it landing on her back, I think. Or whatever she did in the fight, she practiced the exact same move in reverse.
So she submitted somebody, and then she got up and flipped her body and did that funky backwards.
That was not the reverse I was talking about, Jay. Nope.
Okay.
I mean, as much as I feel bad for Cat Zingano, especially after that post-fight interview, I don't think she got caught. I think Ronda Rousey knew what she was doing. Getting caught is like making a mistake.
Absolutely.
I don't think...
Well, you could argue both points, though. She got caught and Ronda knew what she was doing.
Well, hey, you only have one shot at it, right? Well, as for now. You only have one shot to go out there. She chose to go out there, guns a-blazing, which was a great plan in my opinion. She missed and she got caught, and you can say she got caught, but she missed and she lost.
Like, I think Chael Sonnen got caught against Anderson Silva in his first fight.
Right.
But I think Ronda Rousey defeated Cat Zingano. Like, there was no... Like, she would have done that anyways.
Yeah.
Like, I think just the way the positioning is and her body movement, like he said, is just beautiful. That was no accident.
Yeah. Well, no accident on Ronda's part, but certainly an accident on Cat's. I was kind of surprised that she didn't let go of the arm, or kind of get her arm out of Ronda's.
As soon as I saw the arm
head
go up, I'm like,
it's over.
It's over.
It's over. She didn't have time to limp arm out. I agree. She should have limp armed out, but she didn't have time. It was like she had the other arm first, and then she went up to the. It was like, it's over.
I really think it speaks to both that, certainly to Ronda's awareness of her body presence and where you can torque things and catch your opponent's body. But I also think that Cat got caught in the same way that, from Cat's perspective, she certainly got caught. Shouldn't have, left one part of her defenses open. and Ronda capitalized on that.
Ronda went over to Cat Zingano as Cat was kneeling, crying after the fight, and she whispered to her, "I'll do this again, no problem, rematch." And she also said it in the post-fight press conference. So Ronda's ready for a rematch. Cat obviously wants this rematch. The first thing she said when she got the microphone after the fight was, I want to do it again, because it was so quick, of course.
I think realistically, she was like, dude, if anything, I want the number 2 person. Like, I need to do whatever I need to do, because obviously Ronda's not fighting anytime soon.
Right.
She just said she has a movie to film.
Damn.
There should not be ever any take it backs, redos in MMA. The thing that happens in the cage happens in the cage.
Yeah,
I mean, short of fouls, let me say. But this match happened, and certainly Cat was not on her game. It was a slip, a momentary lapse of focus, or however you want to phrase it. I think we will see. It's worth her eventually coming back, getting a few matches and possibly getting that spot for a rematch. But
yeah,
it
Do you
happens.
think that shouldn't happen no matter what?
Excuse
what?
Me? No matter
because
what.
Like the
broad generalization. Now I'm talking about broad generalizations. 9 times out of 10, with no contests and something happened like the one we had with eye pokes and stuff like that, or I think it was another.
I'm saying, like,
case.
let's say for example, the champion beats a challenger by decision. Should a rematch happen?
Depends on the decision.
Yeah.
We see this with Jones Gustafson. We talked about that right afterwards. That was a decision, even though it was a split.
Yeah, I'm saying because that happened to
I'm
Shogun
saying
not Shogun.
Who's that?
No, yeah, Machida Shogun.
First one?
Yeah, and remember the first one
that was a decision that a lot of people thought should have gone the other way. It's apples and oranges to this match.
If it's a close decision and it's the champion versus challenger,
but if it's a finish, there should never be an immediate rematch.
I don't agree.
Why not?
Most of the, broad generalization.
This is a perfect example.
Not. Yeah.
This is a perfect example. Cat Zingano is the #1 ranked contender. Okay. Misha Tate has already fought Ronda Rousey twice.
But it just so happens to be that she cleaned out the division. Right. That has a lot to do with it, right?
That's a different argument.
Yeah. I'm not going to say generally that, every time a champion beats someone via submission, there should be a rematch. Because there's sometimes where there shouldn't be.
So because she cleaned out the division and the way she beat Cat, that means Cat should get a rematch?
Okay, this is what I'm saying. So since Ronda Rousey has cleaned out the division, you have a couple people. I'll tell you in a second my couple ideas for Ronda next.
If she were to fight in 2 months, who would she pick? Who would she fight? According
doesn't matter. She's not going to.
No. According to Daria,
it doesn't matter. She's not going to. That's why we're playing devil's advocate right now and talking about who she would fight if it was in 2 months.
3 months. Let's say she fights in.
Cat Zingano, hands down.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can give her Betch Kohei because of the storyline. Okay, she beat the 2 horsewomen, then you give her the 3rd horsewoman. Why are you shaking your head?
You run it back like that. You give Cat. You just said you don't give Cat the immediate rematch.
When did I say that?
Just now, earlier. You said
I'm saying you don't in general. But I was just asking her opinion as far as if Ronda gets announced for a fight. She said you're gonna fight in 3 months. And Daria had the opportunity to pick anybody in the world to fight. Like I would just curious who she'd fight.
Yeah, I mean Chris Cyborg. If I thought Chris Cyborg could make 135 and that would happen, but it's never gonna happen in a million years. So I say Cat Zingano.
I think the cool thing about Rousey is not even about that. It's the fact that she's undefeated. Betch Kohei, right?
Betch Kohei is undefeated.
Yeah, undefeated. Yeah. So it's more like I think Ronda Rousey wants to be that one. As opposed to the same way she was the one in Zingano, and she wants to be the one in Betch. And I don't. The horsewoman's one thing, but she wants to be the girl that says, "I beat her." I beat Holly Holm for the first time. But I think that would be more of a selling point to being the one behind the one, and the one lost.
I knew that was coming.
The one behind the one in the loss column. I think that's more of a storyline.
Guys, this is a rare moment
facing undefeated people, and Ronda Rousey being that.
Ronda also agreed to the rematch, no problem. So I also think she would agree to fighting Cat Zingano right away.
Guys, from a promoter standpoint, you don't want to burn out certain people, and Ronda is in the other story that comes out of this whole thing is that a lot of people are saying, I totally agree, Ronda is in her Mike Tyson phase. The era of Tyson finishing people in 90 seconds, now Ronda's finishing them in 20 seconds. Back to what she was doing in the amateurs, for heaven's sake. But the thing is, you can go to the well only so often from a promoter standpoint to the cash cow. Put her back on the burner for a little bit. Let her simmer. Let her go do other things as it appears she's going to do. And meanwhile, build up some people that you can viably market. You are not forced to book her 2 to 3 months.
No,
what would you do if you had to do it?
You
still just don't do it.
Yeah, I don't think she fights again until like September or October.
I agree. I don't think so either. But he was playing devil's advocate, and he was just throwing that out there. If she were to fight in 2 months, who would she fight?
She would fight Gina Carano or or Cyborg. But many things would have to take place before. That's why it's not going to happen. No, it does make sense because it's a hypothetical. And so therefore, the only matches that you would book 2 to 3 months from now with Ronda are the people that would be those big matches. Gina, it's not going to happen. Cyborg, it's not going to happen. So what happens? You put her on the shelf, and by the way, she's got a million different other opportunities, so she's going to go make movies. That's absolutely the right way to play it, and that's how it's being played. So it's stupid to talk about a hypothetical that, from a promoter standpoint, wouldn't bother.
Now we're just name calling.
Who did I call?
You said it's stupid. No,
I said that's stupid. The hypothetical. I'm not calling you stupid.
We're on a show talking about UFC and potential for their fights. It's very, very not. It's the opposite of stupid. It's actually very. It makes sense.
No. As a promoter, you would put her on the back burner and build up some other people. That's what you would do.
Is that water?
She's tossing my water in her face.
Oh God.
So I mean, the thing that I was thinking about last night, and going, you'll see where I'm going to. When they asked John Jones when he beat Daniel Cormier that is he the best of all time, and obviously he's going to say maybe, maybe not. Right? He's not going to say yes. He just doesn't want to think about that because he has so much left to prove. And you know, it's just being weird to be called the best of all time when you're still currently, you know, in the prime of your life. He's in his 20s. Right. But I think it's fair to say that Ronda Rousey is hands out the best female like athlete slash not athlete, but like what's the word I'm looking for?
Fighter?
Yeah, fighter. no, because I was thinking like if there's a, I thought that was another word.
That's a given, my friend. But
like, you
if
know,
you want to go best
boxing champion, you know, MMA, combat sports. That's what I'm looking for. Combat athlete.
I would go so far as to say she's certainly one of the top athletes
definitely
on the planet right now.
On the planet.
One of the top athletes. Well, yeah, the best fighter in the world ever.
Possibly, yeah.
And you got to think like, what's her motivation? I know she's like, you know, fighting is my number one priority, but she's got a good case to being the best female athlete of all time.
That is the thing with Ronda Rousey. You look at her situation, you look at her circumstances, and you go, what still motivates this
She's
girl?
an Olympic medalist.
Right. Well, because we saw Anderson Silva. We saw his mental
think her tennis
state.
game is?
I'm sure knowing Ronda, if you give her time to train, you'll probably be amazing.
And that's the point. That's the point to drive home. I completely agree based on that. I mean, you're going to have a bunch of other people that watch other sports arguing, saying she's not the best female athlete because...
Dude, have you seen her striking?
You take other skills in other sports, and I completely agree. They're absolutely right. But give Ronda the time to adapt. I agree that her, more than any other female, could get to a top level or top caliber.
Like who do you think is one of the best female athletes?
I don't know. See, because here's the thing. I don't follow many other sports.
I'm curious what everybody else thinks. Like, I'm sure they're gonna say like Serena Williams.
Right.
Yeah. Who's the one that didn't test for positive for roids? Jackie Joyner Kersey? I know Marianne Jones did.
Yeah, but I was thinking also more recently, like Mia Hamm, great soccer player, right?
Mia Hamm.
Guys, comment about that one. Throw out some names.
Like, where would you rate Ronda Rousey in the form of overall female athletes ever?
Olympic or otherwise? Because
here's the thing, and going back to what I was saying earlier is she's like whatever she's doing now. Like what if her combined her last 3 fights? What is it, like 1 minute and 36 seconds?
Possibly.
When I look at best,
Chris Weinman has fought his last fight 25 minutes.
Yeah,
I think Ronda Rousey is just like a tad bit above that. That's amazing.
Overall,
right. in her 11 fights,
entire career.
Yeah, in her entire career.
You look at what makes you say best female athlete. And I look at how much they've mastered their sport. So whether it's tennis, whether it's baseball, whether it's basketball, whatever it is, where is the margin of error? And you look at Ronda Rousey's margin of error in her fights, and it's minimal. So when I compare her to top female athletes, I can almost I don't follow female athletes enough, but I could say she's definitely one of the best for that reason. There's such a small margin of error. She's perfected her sport.
Realistically speaking, who would you have Ronda Rousey face next? Now, whether it's Betch or they have to fight a match first, like or the winner of what fight? Or
he already said he won it. Oh my gosh, she has to go make movies.
Realistic person. So let's say
not in the next 9 months. First of all,
so let's say she fights at the New Year's pay-per-view.
Yeah, let's do it a year from now.
No, but I'm saying like, what would you do?
I would try to sign Gina. I would really
not gonna happen.
Well, it's what I would do.
There's 11 months to sign.
Yeah,
there's a long time.
Yeah,
I don't think she's coming back, but yeah.
But I would also, Gina, the cyborg thing. I don't know what Shannon Knapp from Invicta FC and Dana and whoever else is in the mix I don't know what the conversations have been with Cyborg in terms of getting her down to 35. I would push for that to happen. She wins, hopefully, in Invicta, and then you go for that match. Now, let's say that those two are off the table. Take them off the table, hypothetically. What do you do after that? You build up somebody in the meantime, and you don't. Ronda doesn't fight until you build up somebody where you feel like
do you have a name?
Betch makes sense because of being undefeated
So who
and
would
the
she fight
storyline.
next?
Who would Betch fight next?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I got the notes here, but yeah, Misha is a possibility.
Cat.
Where's Betch? Betch is number 7. You know, Jessica. You could build up Jessica I possibly against Sarah. Either of the Sarahs. You know.
I want to see a Misha Tate Cat Zingano rematch because I want to see. If
Maybe
Misha
that's
Tate,
it. I mean, they are 1 and 2, but
I'd rather see something new because I've seen that before. I want to see
That's the
Betch
thing.
against Misha and
yeah,
who's the other one?
you've got to build up some the 5 through 10 ranked stars. You got to put them up against the ones that Ronda's already beaten.
you have the
know?
springboards. You have Misha and Kat, which are Ronda's springboards. You beat them, you go to Ronda. That's kind of how it's been.
Maybe
Yeah.
Cat
But-
versus Jessica I, but there's that one person that's going to be left out. So maybe
You
Holly Holm
need
against.
somebody to come in and definitively beat Misha Tate or Cat Zingano to think that they have a chance against Ronda Rousey, and that's what makes this so hard. Because if they're building somebody, there's a chance they won't give them to Misha Tate or Cat Zingano. Because if they do and then they lose it, you lose the hype train.
Yeah.
And for
But
someone
they've got to get past that anyway. You can't have the gatekeepers there for this whole time until Ronda is ready to come back, or until because
but
otherwise you don't have.
who in this division do you see beating both Misha Tate and Cat Zingano?
You don't have to have them beat both of them. You can build
Okay,
up.
who in this division do you see beating Cat Zingano that hasn't already fought and lost to Cat Zingano?
Everybody below Cat Zingano is a good match for Cat. Everybody below Misha is a good match for Misha. And you build, if you're going lower in the level, like 10 through 15, maybe you put them up against 5 through 9, and then eventually you put them up against one of the top 5 girls there. And in the meantime, we're talking about a year to build up. You can get probably 2 more matches in there, and maybe Ronda fights towards the end of the year or early next year. A lot of things happen. People get injured, and then all of a sudden somebody is bumped up the ranks artificially through that as well. That's why there's so many different moving pieces. That's why it's pointless, in my opinion, to talk about who should Ronda face hypothetically in 2 to 3 months. If you can do that hypothetical, boom, magic. Gina is ready in 2 to 3 months. Cyborg automatically makes 135. You know.
Well, Cyborg's fighting in July.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, I believe there's going to be another show before that.
Let's get to the performance bonuses.
All right.
We have Ronda Rousey,
Oh, duh.
Tony Ferguson,
Oh, yeah.
Tim Means, and Jake Ellenberger.
Yup.
Also, Juban and Carneiro. They got fight of the night.
No.
There was no fight of the night.
There was no fight of the
There
night.
wasn't fight of the night, but in the post-fight press conference, if you guys watch, you can see Dana kind of leaning over and say,
Yeah, he kind of mentioned that.
with a big smile on their face, on the fighter's face.
They
going,
have
"All
the official performance bonuses, and it says, well, and everyone else that performed as well will get a little something. Nothing exact like the 50 grand,
Right.
but something you can tell
Throw
there
him
was
a
something,
little
yeah.
bone.
Yeah.
And something really cool, for the first time ever, the entire card was urine tested and blood tested. I think the urine test was before the fight and the blood test was after the fight.
Credit to this California State Athletic Commission, headed by Andy Foster, executive officer, for deciding to go that route and lay down the hammer. You know, as we discussed last week, the sport's taken a bit of a hit with a lot of positive tests and missed weight situations at weigh-ins. And a big match came to California, and Andy Foster put his foot down. So hopefully this will be the start. I mean, I dread to think what's going to happen, who's going to come out positive. What reports we'll have in the next.
We shall see.
Yeah. Because it was the press conference that Dana and Lorenzo had was only a couple weeks ago, so it's not like people. Hopefully, people were clean to begin with, I should say.
Yeah.
But they
we'll
haven't had
see.
enough time
guys,
to clean out the bodies.
Yeah,
With
guys,
so many-
brace yourself for some headlines in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
This is the first with so many UFC fights happening, so many events. We actually have the rarity where it's 2 straight pay-per-views in a row. So the next fight is 185, UFC 185, which
Yeah,
I thought should have been headlined by the middleweights. I don't know. That's just me.
We have a break next weekend, and then we have March 14th.
Who has a break next weekend?
Not I. Not Jay.
Me.
Nope. Be at the U of MMA in Club Nokia in downtown LA to see me fight and Jay matchmake.
Well, I've done the matchmaking, but
it's already done.
Yeah.
Who you got, Pettis or Dos Anjos?
Pettis.
Pettis or Dos Anjos?
I haven't thought too much about that one. It's going to be a fun one. I don't have an opinion. Not an
Carlos
educated one.
Carla Esparza versus Joanna Umchenchek.
Carla.
Chinchek.
Did
Did I really say it right? Oh.
Again, I haven't even thought. I've been focusing on our card and this one.
No fun.
Just flip a coin.
No spontaneity.
Nah, man, come on, man. Look at the numbers. Watch the matches. This is the fun of the sport. Doing your research. Go back. Fight Pass, $9.99. You can watch a lot of these matches. And I was going to say and more. Yeah, there is more other content. As
Okay, where can we find you on social media, Jay?
We talked about this at the top, man.
Yeah, we got to talk about it now, too.
716. I haven't changed it in the hour.
All right. George, where can we find you?
You can find me at G Hermoza, because, sometimes people might skip the beginning. So
yeah,
make sure you get the end.
I agree.
You can find me, I think it should be right here, at G Hermoza, on Twitter, on Instagram. You can hashtag me.
Tickets are available at uofmma.com. Doors are 4:30. First fight is at 5. Get there a little late. You'll still catch her.
See Daria whip some ass.
Yeah. Laba, happy
She's
birthday.
undefeated.
See you guys later.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.